He's a little shy.
Yeah.
But yet Barron's smart as hell. And he's got a. Do you remember that whole controversy where he went up to Biden, right?
Yes.
And they had all these like lip reading experts, and they just and they're like, Barron just told Biden to go F himself. I'm like, so one night, I'm very close to Barron. I love Barron to death, right? One night I call Barron. I go, buddy, what did you actually say? And he goes, it was something so polite. I almost wouldn't even get it right, but like, congratulations and best of luck to you, or something like that. Something very respectful. And I said that. Patrick Bet David. I was on his show, and he goes, did Barron really tell Biden to go F himself? I'm like, he just doesn't have that in him. Like he's a nice guy. He's probably thinking it. He definitely has it up here, but like he's too courteous to actually go out there and say it.
get back to this issue of the ABC and the BBC and the dishonest editing of that Donald Trump speech on January the 6th, 2021. And there was a great column on this in this morning's Australian, written by Claire Lehman, the founding editor of Quillette. And Claire joins me on set. Great to talk to you again, Claire. I could fairly describe you as a friend of the ABC in a way. They still ask you onto their programs occasionally.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not that bash and grab ABC critic that I am. You're much more nuanced, I suppose, is the way they would put it. What is it that troubles you about the way the BBC and the ABC have behaved when it comes to Trump's speech and the way it was edited?
I think the problem that the BBC as well as our ABC have is putting narrative before facts. And we published this really great article in Quillette over the weekend by a BBC journalist, and he traces the shift in approach way back. Well, he identifies it as it really occurring in the 1990s, where boomer journalists sort of took the helm and had an approach to journalism that put the narrative first. And so stories were written in the news, like in the offices, and then journalists and reporters would go out and read the scripts that they were given from the office. And that's an inversion of the old model of journalism, which was much more scientific in nature, where you didn't have an answer to the question. You went out and discovered the facts. You had an open mind, and you reported on what you discovered. And so I think it's when the narrative is put before facts, that's when these institutions break down.
I think it's a great way to clarify this issue. I think it's very insightful. It's something that I've noticed over my 30, 40 years in journalism and politics, and that is exactly it. That too often now we're seeing people choose the narrative, and then they'll use the facts or the clips that suit that narrative rather than being confined by the reality and fair dealing with the facts. So let's just remind people of that edit that the BBC's been criticised for.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
Yeah, Claire, it's so dishonest. And my point here is that I've been very critical of Donald Trump and about the fact that he hasn't offered that loser's consent that's crucial in democracy, and therefore he fueled anger in the US. But to manipulate the words like that to try and create a direct urging of violence is just straightforward dishonest. You don't have to read any journalism code of ethics or any legal descriptors. It's just not fair dealing.
Oh, it's absolutely journalistic malpractice.
Yeah.
And I was shocked when I saw that speech. And our ABC does this on some other issues. In my column today, I talked about gender medicine as one area where there are verifiable facts. They're easily found by anyone with access to Google. You can look up the Cass review in the UK, a review by an eminent paediatrician which led to puberty blockers being banned for children outside of clinical trials. It hasn't been reported on at the ABC. Now, this is an important development in that whole issue. You can't find any news about it on the ABC, and so they selectively ignore and omit facts.
I would argue you get the same in climate and energy reporting. They downplay, for instance, the Iberian Peninsula blackouts and the mismanagement of their energy system. They downplay the second thoughts that we're hearing from people like Bill Gates or Tony Blair when it comes to energy policy.
Yes, any time there's a sort of a contentious issue or a polarised issue, the bias goes one way. On topics where there isn't, much polarisation and there's not a partisan disagreement, they're quite fair and impartial, I find. But when it comes to gender medicine, biological males in women's sport, climate, the bias only ever goes one way.
How do we fix it?
Invite me.
The next chairman of the ABC, chair of the ABC, that would be wonderful.
I think having more dissenting voices and more critics brought into the fold would be a good start.
Yeah, it's a great start. Diversity in those opinion programs. Thanks for joining us, Claire. I appreciate it. Claire Lehman there, founding editor of Quillette.